In this step, we will add material selection widget. When we click the button, our camera will focus on the target object and the material selection widget will visible. If we click one of the material selection, our object material will change. When we press the tab key, we will move back to the top pawn and the material widget will not visible. Go back to the editor. Under Blueprint folder, create a new folder, we call it Material Selector. Open the folder, right-click and create a new widget blueprint. Give it a name as you want. In this case, I will use BP Widget Material Selection. Double-click it to open the widget. On the search palette, look for Canvas panel and drag it to the hierarchy panel. Drag one more the canvas panel on top of the previous canvas panel. Select the second canvas panel and change the anchor type to bottom. For the offset right and position Y, change all to 0. Now add the size Y to 200 and set the position Y to -200. Next, look for border component and drag the border component on top of the second canvas panel and change the anchor type to fill all. Offset right and offset bottom, set all to 0. On the search bar, type padding and set all padding to 0. Next, look for draw and set the draw as image. Next, we will create a new gradient material that we will be applying for this widget. Under the same folder, right-click and select New Material. Give it name as you want. In this example, I name it Gradient Material Widget. Double-click to open the material. On the Detail panel, change Material Domain to User Interface and Blend Mode change to Translucent. On the Palette tab, expand it and drag the constant 3 vector to the canvas. Next, right-click on the empty area and look for Linear Interpolate. And also look for Linear Gradient. Connect the constant 3 vector output to the A input and connect the linear gradient to alpha. Change the B value to 0.5 and finally connect the lerp output to final color and also connect it to the opacity. Press apply and save the material. After we preview the material, it looks wrong. So let's change the alpha to V gradient. And now our material look correct. Select the material we have created. Open BP Widget Material Selector and press this button to use our new material. On the search bar, type draw as and change the type to box. Next, change the color to black. Press compile and save. The border component is still selected. On the detail panel, look for margin and make sure it is 0. Also look for padding and make sure it is 0. On the left panel, type and look for overlay component. Drag the overlay component on top of the border component. On the detail panel, make sure the horizontal and vertical alignment is set to full mode. Next, look for vertical box and drag the vertical box onto overlay component. Select the vertical box and change the horizontal and vertical alignment to full width and height. Next, look for background blur. Drag the background blur on top of the overlay component. Change the alignment to full width and height. Move the background blur on top of the vertical box. Next, change the blur strength to 2.0. The vertical box is selected. On the search palette, look for size box. Drag the size box component on top of the vertical box. Duplicate the size box 3 times. Select the first size box. On the detail panel, change the height override to 40. Select the next size box and change its height to 42. Select the third size box and change the height to 95. On the search palette, look for horizontal box. Drag and drop the horizontal box onto the third size box. And look for border component. Drag the border component on top of the horizontal box. Change the size to fill. Change all padding to 0. Change draw as to border. Next, duplicate the border 3 times. Select the middle border. Change the size to auto. Next, look for size box. Drag the size box on top of the middle border. And for the width override, adjust the value to make it wider. Press compile and save it. Now select the top size box and look for text. Then drag and drop the text component on top of the size box. And adjust the horizontal and vertical alignment. Adjust the font style as you need. On the text content, we can add our text. Next, select the second size box. Just drag and drop the text box onto the size box and do the font adjustment. For this text, make it a little bit smaller than the previous one. Next, select the middle size box. Go back to the environment editor and select the box that we want to focus on and change its material. Next, we want to convert this box into blueprint class. Select the harvest component. Scroll to the top and select the actor. Add a blueprint name as you want. And set the path as you want. Then click on Select button. It will automatically open the box blueprint. Still on the same folder, right-click on the empty area and create a new folder. Inside this folder, let's create a new material. In this material settings, I only use solid color for testing purpose only. Right-click the constant 3 vector and select Convert to Parameter so that we can change the color by instance. Set the default color as you want. Let's try green color for this material. Right-click on the master material and select Create Material Instance. Give the material name in order, like Material Instance 1. And change the color sample as you want. Duplicate the material instance 3 times. Adjust the name in order for this second material. I will use red color for this material. Duplicate one more and use light blue color. For the first instance material, I will change it to pink color. Next, we will create the material thumbnail. Double-click the material instance 1. We need to make an adjustment to the background settings. If you couldn't find the setting, navigate it to Window menu and select Preview Scene Settings. Disable Show Environment and also Show Floor is disabled. Environment color change to full black. Next, take a screenshot by using any tools that you have. In this case, I'm using print screen from Lightshot. Take a screenshot and put it on our local disk. Let's do the same steps for the next material. Take a screenshot in a rectangular size. Let's do the same thing for the last material instance. Next, let's open Photoshop application. Drag the first material screenshot into Photoshop canvas. I'm using ellipse selection to create round selection. On the bottom right, click on this circle icon and choose solid color. Move the circle to center and make sure to cover the material. Let's move the material layer on the top. Right-click and choose Create Clipping Mask. Adjust the position of the material and also the scale to fit the circle. We can do that by pressing Ctrl T on the keyboard. Select the circle mask and at the bottom, click on the FX icon and select Stroke. Make sure the stroke is active and change the color to any color you want for the border. Adjust the border setting like size and opacity as you want. Next, put our mouse cursor on top of the mask and our keyboard. Press Ctrl at the same time. Click on the circle to create a selection. Go to Select menu on the top and select Modify and choose Expand. Change the value to 20 and press OK. This selection is active and press Crop button on the left and on top menu click Accept button. Navigate it to export and select Quick Export as PNG. Select the material layer and drag and drop the second thumbnail into Photoshop canvas. Right-click on top of the second thumbnail and choose Create Clipping Mask. Do transformation adjustment to fit the circle mask. After you done it, save as the file as PNG. For the next thumbnail, do the same steps as before. Now we have 3 material thumbnails which are ready to use in Unreal Engine. Open Material Selector folder. On the empty area, right-click and create a new folder. We call it Thumbnail. Open the folder and let's minimize the window where we put the thumbnails. Select the 3 thumbnails, drag and drop it to the folder we have just created. Select the 3 thumbnails images, choose Asset Action, and select Book Edit Property Matrix. Scroll down a little bit to find Compression Settings. Change it to User Interface and Texture Group change to UI. Save all changes. Let's close these few windows. Open BP Widget Material Selector. Make sure to select the middle size box and on the left panel look for horizontal box. Drag and drop the horizontal box on top of the size box. Select the horizontal box on the detail panel. Adjust the horizontal and vertical alignment. On the search bar, type button component. Drag and drop the button component on top of the horizontal box. Select the button. On the detail panel, look for padding and set all padding to 0. Next, look for draw and set all to image. Change the tint color to full white. Duplicate the button 3 times. On the search palette, look for spacer and drag the spacer component in between the buttons. Select the spacer. On the detail panel, adjust the X value to make it wider. Duplicate the spacer component and move it to the next 2 buttons. Select Parent horizontal box. On the detail panel, adjust the scale to 2.0 for example. Select the first button and we want to change the image to use our custom thumbnails. Select the first material thumbnail and open the BP widget. And press the arrow button to apply the thumbnail. Image size change to 32. Let's update the next 2 buttons by using thumbnails we created. And also don't forget to change the image size to 32. After done, press compile and save. Next step, we will add animation to this canvas panel. Let's show the animation tool by selecting the animation button at the bottom left. Select the Canvas panel parent component. Click the plus green button to add new animation. Give a proper name like Fade In. Select the animation and press Add Track and select Canvas panel component listed. Select it and on the Detail panel, position Y, change it to 0 so the Canvas panel will be at the bottom of our frame. Then press Add Animation Keyframe. Move the slider timeline to the right. And position Y, change it back to -200 and add animation keyframe. Press play to preview it. Let's adjust the duration a little bit longer. Now it looks correct. Next, let's duplicate the fade in animation and change the name to fade out. Select the fade out animation and delete all keyframes. Select the canvas panel and revert it back to the default position Y. Add animation keyframe at the beginning. Move the slider and update the position Y value to 0. Then add ending keyframe. Then preview it. We have done adding animation keyframe. Next, we will activate it from Blueprint. Switch it to Graph Editor. From the left panel, drag the fade-in variable to the canvas and select Get. From the output node, look for Play Animation. Connect the event construct to Play Animation. Let's check our sample. We want to show the material selection widget from the bottom when we click the button. Go back to Content folder and open POI folder and open POI #1. On the empty area, right-click and look for Add Custom Event. Give it name like Show Material Selector. From the node, look for Create Widget. And for the class, we need to target the BP widget material selector. From the return value, look for Add to Viewport. From the Create Widget input, look for Add Delay and set the delay to 0.5. Press Compile and save. Open the POI folder and open POI Widget 1. Select the icon button and find Unclicked Event. Add a new pin from the sequence node. Drag out and look for get all actor of class. For the class, we need to target the POI pawn 1. From out of actor, look for each loop node and connect the input. Copy the node name from POI pawn 1. And from array element, drag out and paste the name and connect the input node. If we double click on it, it will connect us back to the custom event that will show the material widget from the bottom. Now let's do quick test. We need to adjust the thumbnail, hover and press button image setting because we forgot to update it before. Go back to editor and open BP widget material selector. Select the button and on the detail panel, press the search button to find the location of the thumbnail on the content browser and press the arrow button to update the thumbnail. Do the same steps for the preset section and also for the next two buttons. Now select all three buttons and on the search bar, look for image size and update all to 32. Press compile and do quick test. Now all is working great. Next step is we want to hide visibility of the widget material selector when we press back to the top pawn because if we keep pressing the button, it will overlay the previous widget. Press escape and go back to the BP widget material selector. And open graph editor. Drag the fade out variable to canvas and select get. Copy the play animation node and connect the node. On the empty area, create add custom event node. Give name like hide widget and connect it to play animation node. Compile and save it. We will call the custom event from POI pawn 1 blueprint. Copy the node name and from the return value paste the name. Create another custom event and connect the node. From the input, drag and look for add delay. Press compile and copy the node name. As we remember, we want to hide the widget when we press the type keyboard. So from this type system, add new pin from the sequence node. From that node, paste the node name and press compile, then save it. Let's do a quick test again. There is few issue. We need to adjust again the press thumbnail button. Go back again to the BP widget material selector. As we can see, we forgot to update the preset thumbnail. Select the search button again and use arrow button to update it. And let's make sure other button is correct. Check also image size to make sure all is set to 32 size. Press compile and do quick test. Now all button is working great. The final step is we will update the box material when we press the button from the widget material selection. Go back to editor and open BP object material switch or object target blueprint. On the left panel, add new function and add name like material option 1. Drag and drop the static mesh component to the canvas. From the output node, look for set material node and connect the node. Press compile and save it. Next, open material folder and select pink material. From drop-down material, press the arrow button to add the pink material to this function. Next, duplicate this function 2 times for the next 2 materials. Give it name in order. Select the red material instance and use the arrow button to apply the red material to this material function too. Next, duplicate it one more time and do the same steps as before. After done, press compile and save it. Next step is we will enable the click event to change the material. Select the pink button and navigate it down to find the click event. Select the red button and we do the same thing to add click event. The top one node is for the pink material. From the node, look for Get All Actor of Class. From the Actor class, target the BP object target. We will call these three material functions and just remember the name. From the out of actor, look for each loop and connect the node. From the array element, drag and pass to the function name, which is material1, and connect the node. Let's do the same thing for the next two event buttons. After all done, press compile and save and do quick test. Now all is working great. We can change the box material by clicking one of the material selection. For example, if you find the box target on your scene is missing like mine, try to unpin it by clicking the pin button on the outliner tab. Now everything is working great, and finally we have done it. See you in the next video.